Over the past few days, a name that had gone quiet on Social Security suddenly came back into the conversation. And when that happens, markets react, lawmakers start signalling, and behind the scenes, agencies begin preparing for pressure. Donald Trump has re-entered the Social Security debate. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, let me be very clear right up front. This does not mean checks are being mailed tomorrow. It does not mean your bank account will suddenly show a surprise deposit overnight. Anyone telling you that is not being honest with you. But what it does mean is this. When a former president and current political power player starts talking again about Social Security, it changes the direction of the conversation. And that matters more than most people realize, because Social Security does not move randomly. It moves when pressure builds. And right now, pressure is building from multiple directions. Millions of seniors are saying the same thing. Your grocery bill is higher, your electricity bill jumped again, rent didn't come down, prescription costs didn't disappear, and yet your Social Security increase didn't stretch nearly as far as promised. Some of you received a cost of living adjustment that looked good on paper, but in real life, it vanished fast. A few extra dollars here, gone to Medicare premiums, a few more dollars there, swallowed by food prices. So when the Social Security conversation heats up again, especially from someone with national influence, it's not random, it's strategic. And that's why people are suddenly talking about big checks and big increases. Now let me slow this down because I want you informed, not confused. When you hear phrases like big increase or next week, that usually does not mean money is hitting accounts next week. What it often means is that announcements, positioning, or formal discussions are scheduled, and those are the first real steps before anything concrete happens. Think of it like thunder before a storm. You don't get rain immediately, but you know something is coming. That's why today's update matters. Over the past year, Social Security has been under intense scrutiny. Lawmakers arguing about long-term funding, reports warning about trust fund timelines, seniors caught in the middle, trying to survive month to month, while politicians argue in headlines. And now suddenly, Social Security is back in the spotlight again. That alone should get your attention, because Social Security only becomes a major talking point when political pressure meets public frustration. And right now, both are happening at the same time. If this is your first time here, or if you rely on any kind of federal benefit, this is exactly why this channel exists, to cut through rumors, explain what's real, and protect you from misinformation that can cause unnecessary stress. So take a second to subscribe, because this is ongoing, and I will walk you through it step by step. Now here's what makes this moment different from past headlines. This isn't just a vague comment or an offhand remark. This is a renewed focus on Social Security at a time when millions of Americans are watching their fixed income fall behind real-life costs. That combination changes the tone of negotiations. Behind the scenes, when political leaders start talking publicly about Social Security, agencies begin modeling scenarios. Budget teams run numbers. Advisors look at what kinds of increases would be politically popular, financially survivable, and legally possible. That doesn't mean it will all happen, but it does mean planning begins. And planning is where real change starts. Now, I know many of you are skeptical, and you should be. You've heard promises before. You've seen headlines come and go. You've watched politicians argue while your bills kept coming. That's why in this update, I'm not going to hype you up. I'm going to explain exactly how Social Security changes actually happen, who could benefit the most if adjustments move forward, and what you should realistically watch for over the coming days. Because here's the truth, most channels don't tell you. The most dangerous thing for seniors isn't bad news, it's false hope. And we don't do that here. What we do is preparation. In a moment, I'll break down what re-entering the debate really means, how Social Security decisions move through the system, and why timing matters more than headlines. I'll also explain why some people could benefit more than others if changes gain traction. and why patience is just as important as awareness right now. Before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment with your state and tell me the one expense that's hurting you the most right now. Groceries, rent, utilities, medical costs, or something else. It helps this community understand what's really happening on the ground, because Social Security isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's your life, your stability, your peace of mind. And when the conversation starts heating up again, you deserve to understand exactly why. Now let's talk about what re-entering the Social Security debate actually means in the real world, because this is where most people get misled. When a political figure starts talking about Social Security again, especially someone with national reach, it does not instantly change your benefit amount. Social Security doesn't work like a light switch. It works like a long hallway with multiple locked doors. But when someone influential steps back into the conversation, it often means keys are being tested behind the scenes. Here's how this really works. Social Security changes usually begin with messaging, not money. Public statements are the first signal. Then come policy outlines, budget language, and internal discussions. Only after that do proposals turn into legislation or administrative action. So when people say, big checks next week, that phrase almost always refers to movement, not deposits. Next week typically means a speech, a policy signal, a budget discussion, or pressure being applied publicly. Those are the moments that start the chain reaction. And this is important because pressure is the only thing that moves Social Security faster. Right now, that pressure is coming from several directions at once. First, there's the financial reality seniors are living in. Inflation may have slowed on paper, but everyday costs have not gone back down. A gallon of milk didn't return to pre-pandemic prices. Utility bills didn't reset. Insurance costs didn't shrink. Second, there's the political reality. Social Security is one of the most powerful issues in American politics because millions of voters depend on it. Any major figure talking about it is doing so with intent. And third, there's the timing. Budget discussions, fiscal planning windows, and public opinion cycles all overlap right now. That's why even small statements are being taken seriously inside Washington. Now let me explain something clearly, because this part matters a lot. A president, current or former, cannot unilaterally raise your Social Security check. Social Security benefit levels are controlled by law. That means Congress plays a role. The Social Security Administration carries out what the law allows, and changes often come through formulas, temporary adjustments, or targeted relief, not overnight blanket increases. So when you hear about big increases, that could mean several different things. It could mean a proposal to adjust how COLA is calculated, a targeted increase for the lowest benefit recipients, a temporary relief payment for certain groups, or changes tied to inflation measures or benefit protections. Each of those affects people differently. That's why headlines alone are dangerous. One person hears big checks and thinks everyone gets $500 more. Another person hears it and thinks nothing will happen at all. The truth usually sits in the middle, and this is where experience matters. Every major Social Security change in history started the same way. Public pressure, political messaging, policy debate, narrow changes, gradual rollout. Rarely does it start with checks. That's why next week is being watched so closely. Not because deposits are guaranteed, but because the direction of the conversation may officially shift. And when direction shifts, preparation begins. Inside agencies, teams start asking questions like, what groups are most vulnerable? What benefit levels haven't kept up? What adjustments could pass politically? What can be done without breaking the system? Those conversations don't happen when Social Security is ignored. They happen when it becomes unavoidable. Now, let me address something else honestly. Some channels will tell you to expect miracles. Others will tell you nothing ever changes. Both are wrong. Social Security does change, but slowly, unevenly, and usually in ways that benefit some people more than others. That's why it's so important to understand who could realistically see relief first if changes move forward, and that depends on several factors: your benefit type, your income level, your age and status, and sometimes even where you live. We'll get into that next, with real examples and real numbers, not guesses, not hype. Before that, one more important clarification. If you are on Social Security, SSI or SSDI, do not make financial decisions based on headlines alone. Do not take on new expenses assuming increases are guaranteed. Do not panic if nothing happens immediately. The smartest move right now is awareness. Watch official language. Watch how carefully words are chosen. Watch what gets repeated and what disappears. Because when Social Security conversations grow louder instead of fading away, it usually means something is being tested, and that's exactly where we are right now. In the next stretch of this update, I'm going to break down who could realistically benefit the most if adjustments gain traction, what kind of dollar changes people are actually talking about, and how timing and payment schedules play into all of this, in plain English, with real-life examples you can relate to. And again, if you haven't yet, comment your state and let me know which bill feels impossible lately. What seniors are dealing with right now matters more than any talking point in Washington. Now let's talk about the question most of you are really asking, even if you haven't said it out loud yet. Who actually benefits if something changes? Because not everyone is affected the same way when Social Security adjustments happen, and understanding that now helps you avoid disappointment later. Historically, when Social Security relief or increases are discussed, the focus usually starts with people who are under the most financial strain. That often means low-income seniors, SSI recipients, disabled individuals, and long-term beneficiaries whose checks haven't kept up with real-world costs. For example, someone receiving around $900 to $1,100 a month feels inflation much more sharply than someone receiving $2,500. A $100 increase means groceries for one person, but survival for another. That's why many proposals, even informal ones, tend to centre around targeted relief, not across-the-board increases. Now let's make this real with simple numbers. Say you receive $1,250 per month from Social Security. After Medicare premiums, maybe you're left with around $1,050. Your rent goes up $75. Your electric bill jumps another $40. Groceries increase by $60. Suddenly, that COLA increase you were told would help is already gone. If a targeted adjustment of even $100 to $150 were added, that wouldn't make anyone rich, but it could stabilize things. It could mean fewer credit cards, fewer skipped prescriptions, less stress choosing between heat and food. That's why when people say big checks, the word big is relative. For a senior on a fixed income, even a modest increase can be life-changing. Now let's talk about payment timing, because this is another area where confusion spreads fast. Social Security payments follow a strict schedule. Birthdays determine payment dates. SSI usually pays at the beginning of the month. SSDI follows its own pattern. None of that changes overnight. So when you hear next week, it almost always refers to announcements, proposals, or official statements, not deposits. If a real increase were approved, it would come with written SSA notices, updated benefit letters, and clear effective dates. You would not find out from a random headline. Now, another thing many people don't realize is how state-level costs change how far your check goes. A $500 benefit stretches very differently in Mississippi than it does in California. Rent, utilities, insurance, and food costs vary widely. That's why there's growing pressure for policymakers to acknowledge that a one-size-fits-all increase doesn't always work. Some discussions have focused on relief programs, utility credits, or supplemental assistance in higher cost states, not as replacements for Social Security, but as support alongside it. And that's also why viewers commenting their state matters. It paints a clearer picture of what seniors are actually facing. Now let's address delays and errors, because even when benefits increase, not everyone sees the change immediately. The SSA is still dealing with backlogs. Address changes, banking updates, and verification issues can slow things down. Some people receive letters late. Others see changes hit 1 month later than expected. This doesn't mean something went wrong. It means the system moves carefully, sometimes too carefully. That's why it's important to keep your SSA information updated, check your My Social Security account periodically, and avoid panicking if your neighbour sees something before you do. Now here's the part that doesn't get enough attention. What you should do right now, even if nothing changes immediately. First, don't budget for money you don't have yet. Hope is good. Planning based on confirmed income is better. Second, take inventory of your expenses. Know exactly where your money is going. Sometimes even small adjustments can create breathing room while larger decisions are being debated. Third, stay informed, but from reliable sources. Official SSA notices matter more than speculation. And finally, don't underestimate the power of preparation. Seniors who understand the system are far less likely to be misled, stressed, or taken advantage of. Because here's the truth. Even if no increase happens immediately, the fact that Social Security is back in the national conversation is not meaningless. It signals awareness. It signals pressure. And pressure is what eventually forces action. Now let's bring all of this together and talk about what truly matters going forward. Not speculation, not rumours, but clarity. At this point, one thing is clear. Social Security is no longer being ignored. When influential voices step back into the debate, especially at a time when seniors are feeling real financial pressure, it changes the atmosphere around decision-making. That does not guarantee bigger checks tomorrow. And it does not mean every headline you see is accurate, but it does mean Social Security is back on the table, and that alone is important. Here's how you'll know when something real is happening, because real change always leaves a paper trail. First, official language matters. When statements shift from general concern to specific wording about benefit protection, formula adjustments, or targeted relief, that's a sign movement is happening. Second, watch for congressional involvement. When lawmakers begin referencing Social Security changes in budget discussions or committee hearings, that's when timelines start forming. Third, the Social Security Administration always communicates changes clearly. If something is approved, you will see updated benefit notices, formal letters, and account changes. You will not have to guess. If you don't see those things, then nothing has changed yet, and that's okay. Because rushing ahead of facts is how seniors get hurt financially. Now let's talk honestly about misinformation, because this is where a lot of people get confused and stressed. There are channels and posts that use words like confirmed, guaranteed, or approved far too early. They show countdowns, fake payment dates, or exaggerated dollar amounts. If something sounds too dramatic, too immediate, or too emotional, pause. Real Social Security changes are boring on the surface. They involve paperwork, timelines, and official notices. That's how you know they're real. The smartest thing you can do right now is stay steady. Don't make major financial decisions based on headlines. Don't panic if nothing happens right away. And don't feel discouraged if progress feels slow. Because Social Security has always changed slowly, but it does change. Every increase, every protection, every adjustment that exists today started as a conversation just like this one. Public pressure, political focus, gradual movement, and right now, that process is visible again. If you rely on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, remember this: you are not invisible. Millions of Americans are in the same position, watching costs rise while income struggles to keep up. That reality is driving this renewed focus, not promises, not politics alone. And as things develop, the most powerful position you can be in is informed, calm, and prepared. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Comment your city and state, and let me know what worries you most about the months ahead: rent, medical bills, groceries, utilities, or something else. Your voice matters, and it helps shape what we cover next. If this update helped you understand what's really going on, without fear, without hype, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. That helps this information reach other seniors who need clear answers too. Social Security is your lifeline. You've earned it. And when the conversation shifts, you deserve transparency, not confusion. I'll continue tracking this closely and explaining every real update as it happens, in plain language, with facts you can trust. Until then, stay steady, stay informed, and take care of yourself.